what I've done is I have taken a piece of watercolor paper. I just had this pad from a long time ago, and I just took a piece of this. I cut it into a 6 by 6 square. I also have a 6 by 6, actually I guess it's 12 by 6 piece of cardstock that is black that I'm making a card. So I'm planning on putting it on here when I'm all done. I've got that. I just stamped the background using StazOn black ink and this Hero Arts stamp. And I just did it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I've also got a piece of muslin that I cut into a heart. And basically what I do to cut a heart out of muslin is I take a piece and I fold it in half, and then I take my scissors and just cut like half a heart. And then I kind of adjust it to make it look better if it's a little bit funky. I've also got some cotton fiber fill or batting that I'm going to be using. And but if you don't have any of this at home, don't worry, just use some of your dryer lint and that will work too. You don't even need this much. You probably need about half of this for this project. I've also got some Distress ink, black suit, and I've got my little pad that I use to ink up my edges. So what I usually do for inking up edges is I dip my pad in there. And I can't remember the name of this pad. I think it's called Craft Foam, but I'm going to find that out and I will post that on my blog because I was looking for that today to tell you the exact product name and to show you a picture of the outside of it, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'll have to figure that out and get that up for you. So this is what I do to get my edges. Because I found if you use the pad to do your edges, you get these weird lines, and it just doesn't look as natural. I want it to look more like, almost like it was just burned or something like that. Okay, so those are what I'm doing. That's what I've just done. And what I'm going to do is the 2 different colors I'm going to be using now are the Vibes. I'm using Vibes right now, Shimmer's Vibes. And I'm going to be using Sunset Strip and Grape Escape. So what I'm going to do is put Grape Escape on the bottom here. Oh, but I forgot something. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my heart so I know exactly where it is when I am spritzing, so I can make sure I do a pretty spritz. Let me show you. So I'm just tracing it with my pencil, and I'm not doing an exact job, just around where it is. So for this project, you can... what I'm going to be doing is basically blowing the spritz into the direction that I want it to go. So you can use a straw for this, just a basic straw that I got at the grocery store, and I just cut this down so I'd have more control. Or what I'm going to be using is I think this is an air brush, marker brush thing, and it just basically blows air out of this little tube here. And I'm using this today because I didn't want my head to be in the way of the video while you're watching it, because my head would be in the way if I was blowing it because it'd be pretty close. So I'm going to be using this, but you don't have to have this. I think this is a children's art project thing. You can also use toothpicks if you want your ink lines to go exactly where you want them to go. So a toothpick is another option. All right, so I'm going to roll up my Vibes and my sleeves. They're getting in my way. And I'm going to spray in the middle of my heart here. And I'm going to spray quite a bit because I want lots of color, lots of ink. Okay, then I'm taking my little thing and blowing the ink out. And I see where my heart is going to be, and I want it to go just outside of that, but not too much. And you'll notice that I picked a color other than red or pink because I didn't want my heart to look bloody. I wanted this to be a happy card, not a, I don't know, Halloween card or something. So there we go. I'm just blowing it out. And you can see how this is going to look later. It's going to look like the ink is right behind the heart, kind of going out from the heart. Now it looks like I didn't put quite enough in this area here, so I'm going to put some more in there. There we go. And this is Grape Escape, and this Grape Escape, the color is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I don't normally like purple, but I am totally addicted to this purple because the color in the shimmer is, oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. You're going to love it. I totally suggest getting it. Okay, so there we go. I have it pretty much outside of my whole heart here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. I suggest you leave this to dry on its own. Don't use your heat gun, because I've noticed when I'm doing this technique, when I use my heat gun, it pushes the ink out even farther, and it just kind of dries funny. So I like it to dry just naturally when I'm doing this technique. So I'm going to put this to the side and let that dry. And we're going to work on our muslin heart now. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a card kind of like this, where you have a heart, and I'm going to sew this heart down, and then you see how you've got the splatters coming out. So that's what we're doing with this heart now, is we're going to be stamping some text on it. And this stamp right here is a Stampin' Up! Stamp that I got 150 years ago. And I'm going to just ink it up with my Stays On. I like Stays On because it doesn't run when I spritz it with shimmers, like some of the other inks will do. Okay, so there we go. It's a pretty light stamp, but that's fine with me. And then I'm going to just spritz the muslin so it has a little bit of color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Sunset Strip and just do a little bit. And then I'm going to do some Grape Escape. I just want a little bit other color besides the Grape Escape. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but you can already see the shimmer coming out in the Grape Escape. It is shining and gorgeous. There we go. Adding a little bit more Sunset Strip to it. Oh, this is just beautiful. So now what I'm going to do, actually I think it needs a little bit more kind of in the edges here, is I'm going to let this dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my heat gun for this, because the shimmers will continue to bleed into each other, and I don't want it to get too muddy. It's already starting to get muddy here. So I'm going to dry this right now. And now you can see that my pieces have dried. My muslin is pretty dry. It's a little wet around the edges still, but it's dry enough for my purposes. And then my watercolor paper is also dry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my heart in the center, about where I placed it before, and I'm going to take my sewing machine and black thread and sew around the edges all the way around, and I'll leave a little bit open, probably about this much open, so I can stuff it with my fiber fill. So I'm going to go do that.